Thank you for joining the JAF on Tech podcast series. And this is where we talk about technology, artificial intelligence, policy, and the implications of the ever-changing world of information security. If you can leave a comment, a like, or subscribe, it would mean the world to us, especially the humans.
All right, so we've got a kind of info here on secure data storage.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But it's important stuff, whether you're, a tech expert or just starting to think about online safety. This deep dive is for everyone. This isn't just about like ones and zeros. It's about protecting what matters most in our digital lives, really.
It really is fascinating how this goes beyond just the tech jargon.
Right.
We're going to figure out how all these different teams, how they play a role in data security. Understand the best ways to protect that data, whether it's Windows, Mac, even the cloud, and grasp why data privacy should matter to, well, everyone.
It feels like data security, it's everyone's business now. Not just for like the IT guys,
Yeah, right.
It's like we lock our doors, right?
Exactly.
This is that, but for our digital lives.
Yeah.
And just like a physical lock, data security, it's got all these different layers to it.
And that's where these different teams come in. It's not just one person. It's not a solo act.
Right.
It's more like an orchestra. Each section has a specific part to play to create this, this secure symphony of data protection.
Okay, I love the orchestra analogy.
Yeah.
So let's break down those sections.
Okay.
Let's start with management.
Sure.
What does it even mean for them to truly prioritize data security?
Well, management, they might not be the ones writing the code or setting up those firewalls,
Yeah.
but their actions, those really set the tone. Imagine a CEO, right, leaves their laptop open, unlocked at a coffee shop. What message does that send to everyone else in the company?
Ouch. Not setting a great example at all.
Exactly. But when leadership, when they make data security a priority, when they invest in it, when they're constantly reinforcing it, it becomes part of the company's DNA. It's everyone's responsibility, not just an afterthought.
It's about walking the walk,
Yeah.
not just talking the talk, right?
Exactly.
All right, so what about the engineers?
Yeah.
Those are the folks who are building these digital fortresses.
Right. And that's critical. Imagine building a fortress and then trying to add bulletproof windows after it's already been attacked.
Right.
It's not going to be as effective.
No.
So that's why engineers need to incorporate security from day one, from the very beginning. We're talking secure coding practices, rigorous testing, basically embedding security into the foundation of every system.
So security is like a core design principle, not just something you tack on at the end. Okay, then there's the security analysts.
Yeah.
These are the folks on the front lines every single day battling those digital attackers.
Yeah, they're constantly monitoring for threats, investigating anything that looks suspicious. They have to be ready to respond to an incident.
Yeah.
It's a high-pressure job. The threat landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Think of it like a game of chess, but with much, much higher stakes.
So they've always got to be one step ahead, anticipating the attacker's next move.
Exactly, and adaptable. They need to constantly be learning new tactics as, new threats come up.
Constantly evolving.
Yes.
And finally, we have the auditors.
Yes.
They're like the referees, right?
Yes, they're there to make sure everyone's following the rules of the game. They're providing that objective assessment of the company's security. They review the policies, assess risks. They might even, conduct tests, try to break in.
Wow.
All to make sure that the company is meeting those security standards.
So they're not just checking boxes.
Yeah.
They're really digging deep, seeing if the company's actually, walking the walk.
Exactly. Their role is crucial to maintaining a really strong security posture.
Okay, so we've got our orchestra.
Right.
Each section's got its own important part to play. But what about the instruments? What about the actual tools and the practices that keep our data safe?
Well, that's where it gets interesting because the tools and strategies, they change depending on where that data lives. Whether it's on your computer or, floating around in the cloud.
And that's what's so relevant for everyone listening.
Yes.
We've all got these devices, our own little data centers.
Right.
And then there's this whole other world of the cloud.
Exactly. Let's start with, what most people are familiar with. Securing the data that's on their own computers. Your research goes into best practices for Windows, Mac OS, and
And
Linux.
it's classic trio, right?
Right.
Every operating system got to keep that data safe.
Exactly.
So let's say I'm a Windows user.
Okay.
What's my first line of defense?
For Windows, enabling BitLocker is a fantastic first step.
Okay.
think of it like this. You wouldn't leave your house unlocked, right?
Right.
BitLocker is like that digital deadbolt for your hard drive, encrypts all your data. Even if someone, steals your computer, they can't access the information without the key.
So it's like that extra layer of security just in case.
Exactly. And for even more, I guess, granular control, there's encrypting file system or EFS.
EFS, got it.
Imagine being able to lock individual files or folders in a safe, but within your already locked house.
Right.
That's EFS.
Okay, so that's for those super secret files.
Exactly.
Like, my cookie recipe, got to keep that under wrap.
Right. And of course, strong, unique passwords for everything.
Of course, yeah.
That's like having a flimsy padlock versus a heavy-duty deadbolt for all your accounts.
Right, yeah. Strong passwords, got it.
Yeah.
What about my friends who are, Big Mac fans? They think they're, immune to all this?
Right.
Are they?
Well, macOS has a good reputation for security.
Yeah.
They have File Vault,
Very
which
nice.
is their kind of version of full disk encryption, similar to BitLocker.
So same principle, different system.
Exactly.
Okay.
They also have keychain access, which is like having, a secure digital wallet.
Right.
It protects your passwords and credit card details.
That's nice. I spend way too much time trying to remember all those.
Right. And this goes for all platforms. Keep your operating systems and your apps updated.
Yeah.
Those updates contain those security patches. They're like fixing the cracks in your digital fortress.
Yeah, it's so easy to ignore those little reminders.
I know.
But they're there for a reason.
They are.
Okay, now for the big question. Linux. It's got this reputation, right, for being the most secure. Is that true? Is that just like a myth?
I mean, Linux does have a very strong security reputation, partly because it's open source.
Right.
So imagine a house, right, where the blueprints are public.
Correct, yeah.
Anyone can say, hey, I think there's a flaw in that design, or we can improve this.
Yeah.
And that leads to, quicker fixes.
More eyes on the code.
Exactly.
Catch those vulnerabilities faster.
Exactly. Linux users have tools like LUKS, which is full disk encryption.
Okay.
Think of that like the vault door for your hard drive.
Okay.
And then for files and folders, there's GNPG.
Okay.
And that offers, really, really strong encryption. Like you're putting those files in a coded lockbox.
So whether I'm on Windows, Mac, or Linux, encryption is really the key here. No pun intended.
It really is fundamental no matter what platform you're on. But we got to remember security is not, a one-time thing.
Right.
It's ongoing.
It's a journey.
It is.
It's like they say eternal vigilance.
Right. Exactly. But what about the cloud?
Okay.
Because it seems like that's where we're all headed, right?
Right.
Storing our photos, our documents, everything on these platforms.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The cloud, it presents, some unique challenges.
Yeah.
The good news is that cloud providers, AWS, GCP, Azure, they take this very seriously.
Yeah.
And they often have much more robust defenses than, say, you or I could put in place on our own.
That's reassuring, at least.
Yes.
But it also sounds incredibly complex.
it can be, where do we even begin to understand cloud security?
Right. Well, a good place to start is understanding what's called the shared responsibility model.
Okay, the shared responsibility model.
Yeah, so think of it like renting an apartment.
Okay.
The landlord is responsible for making sure the building itself is secure.
Right.
But you're responsible for locking your door.
Right.
And protecting what's inside your apartment.
Okay, so it's a partnership.
Exactly.
They take care of like the basic infrastructure.
Right.
But I'm responsible for what happens to my data, within their system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, leave your apartment door unlocked.
Right.
So same principle applies to your cloud data.
So how do I lock my metaphorical cloud apartment door?
Mm-hmm.
What are some key steps I should take?
Okay, let's break it down by platform. Starting with Amazon Web Services
Okay.
or AWS. They're, one of the biggest players in this space.
I've definitely heard of them. Seems like everyone's using AWS these days.
Yeah, they are. And they have a ton of different services. But with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Right.
Especially with security. A crucial tool they have is AWS KMS.
Okay.
Which is Key Management Service.
Key management service. Okay. Keys seems to be a recurring theme here.
It is.
What does KMS actually do?
Imagine like a master keyring
Gotcha.
for your entire, cloud kingdom.
Right.
KMS lets you create and store and manage the keys that protect your data within AWS.
So it's like a digital locksmith. Keeps track of all the important keys for my data.
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't want to lose your physical key, you need to manage access to those keys very, very carefully. Losing those would be
Bad news.
very bad news.
Okay, I can see how that would be bad. What other important steps are there for AWS?
Another one is S3 server-side encryption.
S3.
S3, so that's simple storage service. Think of it like a giant warehouse where you store your data. And with server-side encryption, your data is encrypted before it's even stored.
So even if someone, broke into the warehouse,
Right.
they wouldn't be able to make sense of my data without that key.
Exactly. It's like putting your data in a locked container before you even send it off.
Okay. Starting to feel a bit better about this whole cloud security thing.
Good.
But AWS isn't the only option, right? What about Google Cloud Platform? Or GCP?
Right, GCP is another major player. And a lot of their, security features are very similar to AWS.
Okay.
For key management, they have Google Cloud KMS.
Okay, so same concept.
Same concept, different name.
Exactly. And for data encryption, they have cloud storage encryption, which you could compare to S3 server-side encryption.
Gotcha.
Different companies, same dedication to security.
So it seems like no matter which cloud provider you're looking at,
Right.
they've all got, these tools and these features in place to keep data secure.
They understand that this is what people need.
Yeah, they have to.
Yes.
And that brings us to our final contender, Microsoft Azure. So what are their equivalents for, managing keys, encrypting data, all that?
So Azure has Azure Key Vault.
And that's for managing those encryption keys. Think of it like, a high security vault, but specifically for, your most sensitive information,
Right.
encryption keys and other secrets.
Another vault analogy, keeping those keys safe, very important.
It is, it's crucial.
So Azure Key Vault.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about the encryption itself?
So for encryption, they have a bunch of different options depending on your needs. Azure Blob Storage Encryption or disk encryption.
Yeah.
Because one size doesn't fit all in the cloud.
Right. Got to have options.
Exactly. So they give you options.
Okay, so it's all about, choosing the method that works best for your specific data
Exactly.
and your situation.
And just like the others, Azure is also a shared responsibility model.
Right, so they're providing that secure foundation. But it's on us to actually implement the right measures to protect it.
Exactly. You got it.
This is a lot, but it's really important stuff.
It is. And while we've covered, a lot of technical things today,
Yeah.
there's another really critical aspect of this that we can't ignore.
Okay.
And that's the human element.
Right, because even with the best systems in place, sometimes it's, human error
Yes.
that leads to those oops moments.
It's like, you build this high-tech security system for your house,
Right.
then you leave the key under the mat.
Right, exactly.
Technology can only go so far.
Yeah.
It's the human factor that
Yeah.
really makes or breaks it.
So how do we address that? The human element. How do we make sure that, we're not the weakest link?
Well, it goes back to that idea of,
Yeah.
building that culture of security.
Right.
It's not enough to just have the tools. Everyone needs to be, aware, engaged.
Yeah.
It's about shifting from that mindset of, oh, security, that's IT's problem,
Right.
to no, security, that's all of us.
It's everyone's responsibility.
Exactly.
So creating that security conscious culture
Yes.
where everyone understands how important this is.
Yes.
And they take part in it.
Exactly. And that involves, regular training, making sure the policies are clear, they're easy to understand, and encouraging everyone to, be proactive.
Yeah.
Think of it like, if everyone in the neighborhood is being vigilant, looking out for each other,
Right.
it's much harder for,
For someone to,
a burglar or someone to do something bad.
right, create that sense of shared responsibility.
Exactly.
Awareness.
Yes, it's encouraging those simple practices, but, making them effective, like
Yeah.
strong passwords,
Right.
watching out for those phishing emails, reporting anything suspicious.
Right. So it's those small things
Those everyday habits.
that add up
Exactly.
to a much stronger,
Posture overall.
posture, yeah.
And also empowering those individuals to speak up if something feels off.
Yeah.
Sometimes the smallest thing
Right.
can prevent something huge.
Exactly. This has been a lot of information. This has been great.
It had.
We've covered so much from, understanding how these different teams work
Yeah.
to the tools,
The practices.
and then, bringing it back to that human element.
Right. Because we're all part of this.
We are all part of it.
It's been a pleasure going through all this with you. And as you're exploring all this, remember, security, it's not a destination.
It's a journey.
It is. It's ongoing. Technology changes, new threats pop up. We've got to be ready to, adapt.
Keep learning.
Yeah.
So to everyone listening, as you're, navigating this crazy digital world,
Yes.
think about this. Data is everywhere.
It is.
From what we do online to our health records, our financial information.
Yeah, everything.
How do we balance that need for security with, our individual rights and freedoms?
That's the question.
That's the big one.
It's a question that's going to keep challenging us. It'll shape how we think about data privacy.
Mhm.
And it's a conversation we need to have together as we try to build this digital world
Yes.
that is both secure and respects our rights.
So well said. It's not just about protecting the data. It's about protecting people.
Exactly.
Well, that is all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay secure.